founder to be recognized by Startup India and the youngest startup founder incubated by T Hub and the government. With a business acumen and a creative spirit, he is toughened by football and has been part of 12 startups and NGOs. He loves being part of the community that makes him feel like he belongs. He could develop web apps on cloud, lead MUNs and international teams, as well as accelerate startups and NGOs to be part of the best. He loves meeting people, speaking to new folks, and networking. So let's welcome Vedanth Nath.
Thank you so much, Sanya, for the very, very, very warm introduction. Uh, Truly honored. Yeah, where do we start? So I'm Vedant. I'm 16 years old and I study in Noble Ready Public School in Hyderabad. I am the founder of Nexteen, and we're a startup that is an ecosystem for Gen Z to solve business challenges. I currently work with T-Hub and we're incubated by them. We're the youngest ever startup to do so. And we're also the youngest ever startup to be nominated for a High C award and be part of IIT Bombay's events. So I'm really delighted to be here and speak today with all of you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Vedant. So, we have you here as a speaker to share your personal best leadership experience. So, please share it with us and take us on the journey that you have been through so far so that we can derive our learnings from you.
So the most memorable story, or the most true story that is there to narrate about me, and the best leadership experience I've got. Obviously, I was part of some challenges and building teams previously. The month of November 2021 was the month where I demonstrated the best leadership qualities that I never knew I had. Um, Innately. Now, just before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my co-founder here, Anvita. So Anvita joined us in January at Nexteen, although November was the stage where I tried to start up and then build something good enough so that Anvita could be confident about joining. So I'm very delighted to be have her on the call as well. Anyways, going on. Yep. So when I started in November, I started myself alone. I before Nexteen had a startup called World Youth Media. From there, whatever team members I had left over people after they went into exams and everything, I lost my enthusiasm with World Youth Media for a little bit, for a very short period of time because I came up with a better idea, and that was Nexteen. So why I started it, I wanted to set myself apart from my network. I wanted to do something that's actually good and much more massively different from what my circle is into. I was in an ICSE school before in 10th. My school was very small and my network was very, very limited. The only aim I had as a child, being an introvert and being a person who is not part of the gangs, is to be more of them. And stepping out and doing something different was always my aim and still is, to prove a point some way or the other deep down. But I'm pretty sure I'm coming over it. Okay, so during the experience of starting up Nexteen during November, while things weren't going the way I wanted it to, I just had an idea of having a business camp where students can solve business challenges. Not very good. Right now I have something, it's much more incredible to look back. So remember that "This is fine" meme, where that meme character is sitting there and just like there's fire all around? That was me. uh, the entire month still now. Every week, this is part of my schedule, week in, week out. I only feel like, why am I not a teenager anymore? Why am I not doing teenager stuff, like enjoying myself or interacting or probably socializing and getting into more and more drama? Yeah, so I wanted to do that. And each time I told my friends I'm building something the next thing, they were like, "Oh, brilliant, that's fabulous." But the very next thing that they said was, "Why don't you do something that is more teenager like?" Um, After that, I said, it's time for me to take Nexteen forward and actually set myself apart from my network. And that's when I thought of getting into T Hub or even Y Combinator for that sake. In November, I thought, let me take Nexteen to become the youngest ever Y Combinator company. Starting with T Hub. So T Hub is the flagship program for all startups across the startup ecosystem in India. Getting into it, I got into T-Hub in the month of December. So only between 1 month, I started Nexteen in September. October, I had my exams, occupied the entire month. So Nexteen started in November in one way. December, I applied to T-Hub and I got in, surpassing 300 startups who made it to the interview stage. Most were the ones with an MVP. Each startup right now in T-Hub is valuated at about the north of 1 crore. Nexteen's still not there, but we're still part of the club, and we were a complete clean sheet in terms of most numbers, and this was mid October. All right, so in the span of 1 month, with my team who had just been introduced to the entrepreneurship world, I had a very small team. Like I said, these guys did not even know what entrepreneurship was, what an MVP was for that stake. How can you actually manage students? How can you build teams? None of that. And our startup was involved in that field. We're building a startup that teaches students how to build teams in some way or the other. It's one aspect of it, and we're in the process of doing it still now. Okay. With regard to this experience, I want to talk about the actions that I took on the same process. Uh, the only thing I did was I had the mentality of getting onto the field and doing whatever came in my way and putting in hours to iterating and learning constantly. So that was one mantra that I followed previously, and I still continuously do, learning and iterating. Because at this young age, I'm pretty sure I don't have the experience that most of the people in this call have, especially Sandhya ma'am. So an inspiration on the call as well. Okay, now we had to do numbers, right? November, we had to do numbers to get into T Hub. So I wasn't a guy who had taken a course or any kind of learnings to actually do sales work or marketing work, basically soft skills that are required to survive in the real world. So sales work was the main thing I did in the 1 month period without any experience. From zero corporates, we went to about having 13 corporate partners, and we partnered up with four schools, with one school from Bahrain. So in the span of 1 month, to show those numbers is our application form to get into T Hub, and we did all of that. So how did we do that in a very short period of time? It required lots of planning, filling in templates and sheets, lots of exercises that are available on the internet for free. We used that to prepare a go-to-market strategy. We did loads of work on the drawing board. I've got something still up there, and I just want to like pick up a pen and put in ideas. And yeah, we try to just get our numbers up by constantly ideating and choosing um, easy ways in. Easy ways in, like corporate partners that we had, they were mostly through my personal connections, and the schools also I had were the past two schools. Out of the four school partners that we have, two school partners are schools that I've been in. 11th grade, I got into a new school. 10th grade, I was in another school. So both those schools became my partners, and that was the most honorary experience for me ever. That is my milestone so far. That's what I did in terms of like what actions that I did take. Beyond that, to actually exceed the levels of performance, I tried to make tasks easy for my team. My team was very nuclear. They had no idea about how to get into the same ecosystem of startups, and I myself had no idea about how to do that. I spent hours and hours on YouTube at night, learning about the startup world and how things work, learning basic terms to actually speak to them and use big terms so that they can get inspired to do better things. And these guys, yeah, they dedicated about only 2 hours per day, and that was their upper limit. Beyond that was incredible. Was very rare. It never really happened either.